two words that have not been spoken by a soul on this side of the ocean since the end of the game Sunday in Ireland. Brian Flores, good morning to you. On that happy note, good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots. Penguins and Pirates in the same place that you found this. The way this works in the coordinator business is you are quite literally only as good as, I was going to say your last game. I don't even know if it's your last game. It might be your last play call, your last scheme setup. But I'm here to do it now, amidst this bye week, before things get serious next week, to point out that Flores got his rear end kicked, not just by the Steelers' offensive coordinator, but also by their defensive coordinator. I've been over Arthur Smith's role in the 24-21 victory over the Vikings, how Art designed an offense that was specifically aimed at defeating not just Minnesota's defensive players, but also Minnesota's defensive tendencies, those exotic blitzes as they're known, that Flores loves to dial up. And by the way, the term exotic only ever gets used in football as it relates to a certain coordinator who develops a certain reputation. Blitzes are blitzes. What makes them exotic? What makes them not exotic? It's silly, but it comes up. And I got to tell you, if I was a defensive coordinator in the NFL, I'd be scanning really, really hard for any references to my blitzes and hoping that somebody attached the adjective exotic in front of them. So here come the exotic blitzes. The problem is the Vikings' defensive roster is largely smaller. So what did Art do? He put a bunch of big dudes on the field, extra dudes, Darnell Washington, Spencer Anderson, and said, I'm just going to knock over your smaller guys. I'm going to collapse them. And everyone can appreciate how exotic they are from a horizontal perspective. Well, defensively, Terrell Austin and or Mike Tomlin, feel like I have to say that all the time when it comes to the defensive coaching of this team, deserve credit for what they were able to do against the Minnesota offense led by Carson Wentz. Wentz passes for 350 yards, so it's not like they shut him down. But they did stop the Minnesota running backs, holding the players at that position to 52 yards on the ground. They did get 2 interceptions, 8 passes defensed, 2 forced fumbles, 10 tackles for loss. That's a lot of attacking at a lot of the right places on the field. They did sack Wentz 6 times for 48 yards in losses, turning his 350 really into a 302. And they did this principally through simplifying things. I reported to you from Dublin, players telling me, and in turn praising, that Austin and Tomlin took a playbook, took a set of X's and O's that had been, it's not that it was confounding them. There was too much of it given the amount of turnover that had been taking place on that side of the ball. In other words, if they had their starting 11 or 12 or 13, their top guys, and they were all healthy, they were all out there for all 4 games, I've no doubt that nobody would be talking about whether or not there's communication issues or things are too complex. What was done for this game on the defensive side was that the players were given the most stripped down possible script and told to just go out there and play football. Be who you are. That began with the inside linebackers, and they became more pivotal than anyone else on that side. Peyton Wilson with a game-high 13 tackles. Patrick Queen right behind him with 11. Each one of them had 8 solos, so these weren't cheapies. Wilson had 2 tackles for a loss. He hadn't been doing anything of the kind before that. Queen had 3. And all of this while continuing to lose people. They lost Jalen Ramsey, who's only supposed to be per the way the storyline developed, Mr. Everything to that defense. Later in the game, they ended up losing Brandon Eccles. So neither Ramsey nor Eccles is out there when Jordan Addison goes running 80 yards downfield there near the end to keep Minnesota in the game. But listen to Austin yesterday on the South Side, eating that one himself.
That's on me, and I'll make sure if that ever happens again, if we have some attrition the way we did it, the way it happened, I gotta give our guys something that's way more simple and that they can line up and play. And it may not be the best defense, but it'll be something where we won't have a chance to blow it. So, our guys played great, and again, that last one is on me, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen.
There's so much to love about what Austin said there and why he said it, beginning with, he was right. That actually was on him. But your football team's going nowhere if your coaches, not just the head coach, if all of them aren't honest with themselves in all situations, because they're not going to get any better. The team's not going to get any better. There were so many examples of that, again, both on offense and on defense, where you could tell that lessons were learned, adjustments were made, victory was had, a brighter future could be seen, and on came the bye week and a couple of divisional opponents. I don't know that I could have written out anything prettier for the Pittsburgh Steelers than to perform the way they did in Ireland, but also to have pivoted on a lot of the stuff that they were doing in the first three games that weren't working out at all. When we come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Football season's finally here. Time to check out the latest odds, futures, and win totals on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Think the Steelers are headed to the Super Bowl? Lock in your bets today. Whatever your game, FanDuel Sportsbook delivers the latest lines, futures, and specials so you can join in on all the action. Hey guys, if you're planning to see a Steelers game, use the Game Time app to get your tickets. You can snag new ticket deals before anyone if you set it into your app alerts. The app is easy to use. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see your seat view before buying, and you're getting legit tickets delivered on time. If you're not much of a planner, you can get last-minute deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Game Time app and enter the code DK Steelers into your app profile to get $20 off your first purchase.
Today's J1Q comes from Sean. I love this one. It says, DK, I think it's fair to say that while he looks older, Aaron Rodgers doesn't look old. Is it possible that the seasons he just sat behind Brett Favre have allowed him to play later in his career, just a few years less of NFL wear and tear? I've heard lots of, this is general now, theories about the extent to which just observing or even having, by the way, years off to injury can allow a player to extend, or an athlete in any sport, to extend their competition life. But I never hear it taken too far, because the more prevalent wisdom on this has forever been, listen, you've just made it to a certain point in life, and this is what's going to start happening to you. We can only defy our own evolution to a certain extent. So without you laying it out, I'm going to interpret two different things that you said as follows. One, you say that while he looks older, you're just referring to grays here. Come on, man. If you didn't want the grays, he wouldn't have to have the grays. You can walk into a CVS and not have the grays an hour later. But when you say that he doesn't look old, I have a feeling that you're referring more to his mobility and his still very real pluckiness in getting out of the pocket. Not just the really cool block that he threw for Kenny Gainwell. And for the purposes of this particular exercise, we will gleefully omit that he fell flat on his face and fumbled, and was very fortunate that Broderick Jones was following him downfield to make sure that didn't turn into a turnover. Now, does any of that have anything to do with 20 years ago or whatever it was, the Packers letting Favre remain QB1 a lot longer than maybe even they should have? I don't know. I mean, that's a distance between now and way back then. So what I'll share instead is that going back to the summertime when Rodgers first arrived on the South Side for minicamp, the point that he kept making was that the Achilles tear from 2023 that cost him almost the entirety of that NFL season in New Jersey had not all the way healed by the time he participated and started in all 17 of the other Jets games. And it affected him, and it slowed him down, and it caused him to compensate. And then it led to other injuries. He played through them, but they were there. So coincidence or not, MetLife Stadium turf or not, he goes back to that stadium for the opener this season, and his back is bothering him, and he was a little bit stiff in his movement, certainly in his escapability. And that sounded like he was covering for his lineman a little bit, I remember thinking at the time. But then, sure enough, the next week, here in Pittsburgh against the Seahawks, he did show some of that mobility. And he's done more of that since then. I'm not going to be an idiot here and suggest that we're about to see Rodgers look like he did 10 or 15 years ago. But I am with you in observing that he's not just standing back there as a statue. He's not setting himself up as an easy target, and he's not ripping pages out of the playbook that require him to roll left or right. And yeah, regardless of the reason for any of that, great for him, great for the Steelers. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers, presented by FanDuel. Please remember to go download our app, DK Pittsburgh Sports app, onto your Apple or Android device. After that, email me directly, dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. I'm doing 2 hours of this a day, I swear. For a premium level discount, you'll want the good version of this app. I want you to be using the good version of this app. That's why I'm offering this steep discount. dk@dkpittsburghsports.com. Let's hook up again today at 4 p.m. for a double shot of Steelers.